Greetings, Horizon family. This week's Lent Devotional comes from John 15, verses 1 through 4. Read with me if you would. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit. And while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. We've been looking at Jesus and the person of Jesus in these devotionals, and especially in John, where he's saying, I am the way, the truth, the life. I am this, I am that. And in this one, we're looking at him saying, I am the true vine. And I just imagine Jesus walking with his disciples along the path and seeing some vineyards nearby and using just that everyday thing that we've seen so many times and experienced for themselves to teach them something profound about himself and about themselves. And we are the beneficiaries of that. So as I look at this, one little section really jumps out at me, and you can get deep into this, and people can get all theological about whether this whole thing means we can lose our salvation. That's for a whole big sermon. But this one section says, first of all, the idea of pruning. He cuts off every branch of me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes it so that it will be even more fruitful. And most of us haven't spent time pruning in a vineyard per se, but I was trying to think of something that more of us may have done. I enjoy gardening. One thing I love to grow is tomatoes, and tomatoes, as many of you know, are a vine. And it's funny about tomatoes because when you first plant them and you start to water them and feed them, they just grow a lot of green growth, and they can just send branches out like crazy. And if you don't tame it a little bit, it just becomes this giant bush but no fruit. So what you're really wanting is a lot of tomatoes, not just a lot of green, beautiful leaves, then you have to prune it. You have to pluck off, and anybody who's done tomato pruning knows about this, but as it's growing up from the main stalk, it'll create these branches that go out. And in between each one of those little side branches, there'll be an extra one right in the middle, and it's called a sucker. And you pick those off, and then it creates stronger branches that bear more fruit. So that's an easy example in my own experience that I can go, yeah, that's how that works. Even just this last week, I had a guy come and do some pruning of some of the trees in my yard, and wow, it looked aggressive. I mean, it looked like he had chopped off most of the tree top, and if I had done it, I probably would have been a little more careful. But like a master gardener, the Father knows those branches and those areas where that's extra, that's dead, that's not necessary. This is the area I want to create more fruit in your life. I want to create more of the fruit of the Spirit, more joy, more peace, more patience. And these things are just green growth or just dead wood. Let's get rid of them, and I will help you flourish even more. The second little section that I want to look at says, remain in me and I will remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. And so the question I would ask all of you and myself as well is, in what ways am I trying to bear fruit by myself? Am I just trying to strive harder to bear more fruit? I'm going to be more patient. I'm going to try harder. I'm going to do more. When if you look at this passage, there's one job and one job only of the branch, and that is to remain in the vine. It's the Father's job to prune, and the source of all this life, all of this fruit comes from the true vine, which is Christ. So let's all stop striving. Let's all stop trying to bear fruit on our own apart from the life of the Spirit and then of Christ, and to bear the painful pruning of the master gardener, of the Father. Grace and peace.